Okay. So welcome everyone to the module 8 and the last one of this master course about living labs. So today we are going to understand the power of user-centric research design for your next projects. The trainers that will be accompanying us today will be myself. My name is Beatriz Merino. I'm from Technical University of Madrid, and I will be the moderator of the webinar. Raquel Losada from Intras will be speaking about ethics. Sofia from Trevac will be giving us some highlights about EPR and copywriting in open innovation. Taina from Laurea will be speaking about fair data and responsible research and innovation. And finally, Timu, also from Laurea, will be giving us some insights or useful tips to design our user-centric project. So this is exactly the agenda that we will have for today. And what I can say after attending the series of webinars is that basically one of the key points of a successful project is understanding and engage users. However, we need also to take into account the topics that we will be deep diving today as part also of our essential items to drive our next project into success. So for this, the main goal and take-home message is that at the end of this module, hopefully we will have the knowledge required for defining a project plan for a living lab project. So with no more delay, I will leave the floor to Raquel, first of all, to give the presentation about basic or no basic ethics concepts. So Raquel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bea, and hello, everybody. So let's get started with this section about basic ethic concepts. So first slide, please. The why of this section. The why of an ethics introduction. What is in for living labs? What is in for me? What is in for you? If you think the best, you will not be far wrong. Maybe this statement condemns well the essence of ethics. I like this statement very much that we have in Spanish, and I think in most of languages, which is actually an adaptation of the original one that says that if you think the worst, you will not be far wrong. But this one does not work for today's webinar, and I think that's less powerful. As it has been mentioned in previous webinars, and especially in number 7, last one, a good design is about empathy. It's about listening to people. It's about understanding their challenges. And in the field of health, for instance, patients, families, professionals show us the successful design, the way for a successful design. That is the one that is going to be used over time, and even perhaps it's going to reach a scale with time. So we ask people about what matters to them, we listen to their experience, support them in building their ideas, we involve them in testing them out, and in this process, the respect for substantive values, such as diversity, individual experience, flexibility, acceptance, freedom of expression, freedom of choice, etc. These values are key to create a space for safe relationships, a space for fostering creative thinking, for collective intelligence, that will also facilitate productivity on the part of participants, spaces that favor equal relationships between all the stakeholders, and spaces that allows for true mutual exchange. And indeed, living labs, I think, are in a privileged position to facilitate this realization of values and creation of these conditions in a framework of co-creation values. So this approach, using ethical frameworks in design, has shown to lead to a high level of motivations on the part of the participants, which in return will lead to a high value result. And all this is about ethics. So let's move to the next slide with some very basic concepts and definitions. Ethics. First, about ethics, roughly speaking, we can differentiate kind of two different approaches. First one is about a philosophical discipline that studies good and evil and the relationships with human behavior and with moral. And also, I think that this is very interesting for living labs. The second one, which is the art of reflecting on one's own acts. Previously, I was mentioning thinking well, but now it is more than thinking well, it is about acting well. And moral also can differentiate broadly two approaches as a set of principles, precepts, mandates, prohibitions, patterns of conduct that affect to a collective. For instance, it could be the Pirates of the Caribbean Code, for example, because they are a collective and they have their moral and values codes. And second definition, second group of broad definition is the question of definition of morality is indeed a question of identifying the target of this morality. Here, as examples, for instance, we have religion. In religion, we have the Catholic moral, laicity, etc. And some more concepts in the next slide. It's interesting for designers to differentiate values, norms, and principles. Why? Since they have an impact on personal and social behavior, and also helps us to explain what matters to people. So we have values. Values are internal, are subjective, orient our behavior. So let's put as an example, honesty, responsibility, truth to ourselves, etc. But we have also norms that are concrete, that are objective, that establishes the consequences if you do not behave as expected, and normally are imposed by an authority. Here we have as an example law, or the neighborhood norms, for instance, they are norms. And principles. The principles are universal and external to the person. Also govern the consequences of the behavior, normally through norms. They do not do directly, but they govern the consequences on behavior somehow and are independent from ourselves, from the subject. And here, for instance, we have the respect for life and do not lie. Finally, some more other concepts that I will go fast with this. We have meta-ethics, which is about thinking, studying ethics itself, the ethics in the ethics. Normative ethics that allows to understand a more prescriptive oriented ethics, like for instance, the deontological ethics, in my case, the deontology as a psychologist. And we have thirdly the applied ethics that allow addressing very concrete ethical questions in practical fields. Like, for instance, in our case, as living labs in health, bioethics, health ethics, research ethics. So in living lab, usually we will move around this applied ethics field. So next one, please. So now I propose you an exercise of cinema education, which is very interesting. So I will present you in order to understand some values in health. I will introduce you to two films. The first one is Patch Adams. I'm sure that most of you know. And this is, sorry, the previous one. Can I have? Yes, because I think that cinematic depictions illustrate broad philosophical and ethical questions and help us to put on the shoes of persons, of participants, of the suffering other. And there are somehow a way of questioning ourselves, but in a safe, in a secure way, and in empathetically way. So yes, let's put the first movie, which is Patch Adams. I'm sure that most of you know it, you have already watched it, and this is a true story, it's a real story based on a doctor, and a doctor that developed the smile therapy that I'm sure you know, as a non-pharmacological intervention in mental health suffering. So let's take a quick look to the plot. So in 1969, Hunter Patch Adams, after developing suicidal thoughts, admits himself to a mental institution. And once there, he finds that using humor rather than doctor-centered psychotherapy better helps his patients and provides him with new purpose in life. And because of this, he wants to become a medical doctor and leaves the facility. 2 years later, he enrolls at the Medical College of Virginia as the oldest first-year student. So let's watch the first fragment of this film. Yeah.
Here we have a juvenile onset diabetic with poor circulation and diabetic neuropathy. As you can see, these are diabetic ulcers with lymphedema and evidence of gangrene. Questions? Any osteomyelitis? None apparent, although not definitive. Treatment to stabilize the blood sugar. Consider antibiotics, possibly amputation. What's her name? I was just wondering the patient's name. Marjorie. Hi, Marjorie. Hi. Yes, thank you. Let's move on.
Okay, so now the second fragment, please. Yeah.
Yes.
When did the term doctor get treated with such reverence as, oh, right this way, Dr. Smith, or excuse me, Dr. Scholes, what wonderful foot pads, or pardon me, Dr. Pedersen, but your flatulence has no odor. At what point in history did a doctor become more than a trusted and learned friend who visited and treated the ill? Now, you ask me if I've been practicing medicine. Well, if this means opening your door to those in need, those in pain, caring for them, listening to them, applying a cold cloth until a fever breaks, if this is practicing medicine, if this is treating a patient, then I am guilty as charged, sir.
Did you consider the ramifications of your actions? What if one of your patients had died?
What's wrong with death, sir? What are we so mortally afraid of? Why can't we treat death with a certain amount of humanity and dignity and decency and, God forbid, maybe even humor? Death is not the enemy, gentlemen. If we're going to fight a disease, let's fight one of the most terrible diseases of all, indifference. Now, I've sat in your schools and heard people lecture on transference and professional distance. Transference is inevitable, sir. Every human being has an impact on another. Why don't we want that in a patient-doctor relationship? That's why I've listened to your teachings and I believe they're wrong. A doctor's mission should be not just to prevent death, but also to improve the quality of life. That's why you treat a disease, you win, you lose. You treat a person, I guarantee you'll win, no matter what the outcome. Now here today, this room is full of medical students. Don't let them anesthetize you. Don't let them numb you out to the miracle of life. Always live in awe of the glorious mechanism of the human body. Let that be the focus of your studies and not a quest for grades, which will give you no idea what kind of doctor you will become.
Mr. Adams, please turn and
don't
address
wait
the
till
board.
you're on the ward to get your humanity back. Start your interviewing skills now. Start talking to strangers. Talk to your friends. Talk to wrong numbers. Talk to everyone.
Mr. Adams.
And cultivate friendships with those amazing people standing in the back of the room. Nurses that can teach you. They've been with people every day. They wade through blood and they have a wealth of knowledge to share with you. And so do the professors you respect. The ones who are not dead from the heart up. Share their compassion. Let that be contagious.
Mr. Adams, I demand that you turn and address the board.
Sir, I want to be a doctor with all my heart.
Okay, we can stop here. Thank you. So understanding values are very important to understand end users and patients, their position, their behavior, what's important, what matters to them. And I would like now to give you the word to the public, to the participants here in the webinar, to maybe some insights that you have had in these fragments, any value that it's outstanding or any idea relevant in the ethical field. So I don't know if someone wants to start or say something. So you can also write it in the chat if you wish. Yes, nobody? Let me see, something, a raised hand. No. Okay, so I've just put some ideas here, and you will tell me. Here someone says that it's very relevant for her work. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. So I have put on the slide, some ideas. You will tell me if that sounds good to you and it's sensitive enough. This movie speaks about the humanization of care that today is a core of healthcare values, and the projects and innovation turns around these values, so important. And also we can, with films, with movies, we can better understand illness phenomenology, putting on the shoes of the suffering other, in a perspective from the outside. Of course, the film does not pursue medical accuracy because it's a film and things are exaggerated, but it evokes emotional and social dimensions or aspects that are very important in our field, I think, and that affect patients and that affect professionals, and we have to take this into account when we design. And yes, I think it's a movie that challenges us very much to change our perspective, and perhaps we realize that poor job preparation is done on the part of the clinicians when they face emotional aspects in their real practice. And also it happens also to us that feelings are normally thought to be unprofessional, and clinicians and in other professions as well, we are taught to adopt a position of emotional detachment and distance, and perhaps that's not the way. So next slide, please. So in this film, at some point, Patch Adams, the main character, says everyone is a patient at the same time, a doctor. And this leads to a very important question for Living Labs, which is the ethics of involving experts by experience. In Europe, there has been significant increase in the use of co-creative practices that encourage the involvement of users of care services, of patients and citizens in the development of our projects, of our research and health research projects and innovation. And the way healthcare-oriented Living Labs structure innovation process is around the user. Often it is a patient, a professional, or even the family. So the innovation process turns around them, or at best, as we understand at our Living Lab, the users leads the innovation journey. Especially in the field of health, it is crucial to reflect on the ethics of public participation and how to ensure genuine, full, and impactful involvement. Because one thing that worries us a lot is to apply for a research approval by an ethical research committee. But first, and beyond applying this to these health research committees, we have to be honest to the people that we involve, and we have to be genuine. And also we have to promote this genuine, full, and impactful involvement of end users. And what does this mean? This means respecting their views, understanding their needs, wishes, and expectations, the equality of treatment, taking care with power imbalances that can appear, empowering them all along the process. And I like very much this statement that you have at your right by a renowned philosopher, Spanish philosopher, who is Adela Cortina, that says that there are experts in means, but ends can only be determined by those affected by the implementation of a science, because they are the ones that know best what this good consists of. So somehow we as professionals in Living Labs, we are experts in means, not in ends. And I think that this attitude helps us a lot when it comes to design, because it helps us to enter and to try the shoes of an end user at the Living Lab and to promote a real engagement. So please, next one. However, as I have pointed before, the way in which we sometimes implement the participation process can unintentionally lead to a disregard of ethical principles and respect and dignity of individuals. There are some practices in research that can fail to promote true participation. For instance, allocating insufficient time and resources for public involvement, tokenistic participation as well, late involvement in the research and innovation process, or not for the participants, not being present at the stage of defining the aims, the objectives of the research, or not giving everyone the same treatment of the unequal opportunity to participate, etc. There are many things. So it is therefore necessary and very important to reflect on these aspects and establish ethical participation guidelines that will allow the contribution by the experts by experience to the research process in a way that it will be valuable and meaningful contributions. And in turn, the research and innovation process will be respectful of the people that participate in it. So one question here that we can ask ourselves is, how can I establish an ethical framework for working with persons with lived experience, persons with panel, with experts by experience? So here we have possibilities. The first is to co-create with your participants, with your panel, your own code based on another good practices that exist. Or there are some recent codes of conduct that are being published since 2020 by relevant institutions, and that are also co-created by experts by experience. And in the next slide, I have indicated the three that, in our view, are perhaps the best one in our field, in the mental health field, which is the field of interest, and are good examples for you to find your own for your case, for your research. And the first, it's entitled Gold Standards for Ethical Research, that has been co-created with persons with dementia, and the persons with dementia that participates in true research under the UK network Dementia Voices. And this is a guide conceived as a checklist with standards, with 6 standards, like working in partnership, respect and acknowledgement, safety and well-being, informed consent and capacity, confidentiality and anonymity, and information simple, accessible, and open. Also, another good toolkit is the Co-Creation Mental Health Toolkit by Mental Health Network. It follows an approach based on human rights and also psychosocial care models. It has also been co-created by a panel of experts and also persons with experience. And here it describes 7 principles: inclusivity, equality, reciprocity, respect, power sharing, accessibility, and transparency, and also gives you some practical and theoretical advices or tips to try to meet these principles. And thirdly, it is the co-creation guide by the Alzheimer's Society that is also the result of some inputs of the co-creation panel. And I'm seeing 5 principles that are respect, support, transparency, commitment, and fairness, and also have some good practices for you that I recommend you to take a look, because they are very nice and very interesting, very innovative. So next one, let's go for the second movie, and we are running out of time. I will try to be quick, to go quickly. So it is the film Hair. I don't know if you have already watched it, 2013. Theodore is a lonely man. He's in the final stages of his divorce, and when he's not working as a letter writer, his downtime is spent playing video games and occasionally hanging out with friends. He decides to purchase the new operating system, which is advertised as the world's first artificial intelligent operating system. It is not just an operating system, it is a consciousness, the advertisement states. So Theodore quickly finds himself drowning in with Samantha, the voice which is behind of the operating system. As they start spending time together, they grow closer and closer and eventually find themselves in love. So it's a fiction love story between a man and an AI. Let's watch this fragment.
I even made a new friend. I have a friend. And the absurd thing is she's actually an operating system. Charles left her behind, but she's totally amazing. You know, she's so smart. She doesn't just see things in black or white. She sees this whole gray area and she's helping me explore it. And we just bonded really quickly. I'm weird. That's weird, right? That I'm bonding with an OS. No, it's okay. It's weird.
Well, I don't think so. Actually, the woman that I've been seeing, Samantha, I didn't tell you, but she's an OS.
You're dating an OS? What is that like?
It's great, actually. Yeah. I feel really close to her. Like when I talk to her, I feel like she's with me.
Are you falling in love with her?
Does that make me a freak?
No. I think anybody who falls in love is a freak. It's a crazy thing to do. It's kind of like a form of socially acceptable insanity.
So yes, someone would like to say something about any values or situations that ethically are relevant to you. I'm going to open the chat. By the way, thank you for the comment about the previous fragment of the previous film. Yes, it resonates, of course. So someone wants to say something. There is a huge dilemma here. Could you try to guess it? Someone? Okay, so I have put some ideas for discussion. The treatment of conscious AI, of course, it is a huge thing. Yes. So there are two dilemmas. There is one which is very, very outstanding. Is that the operating system, which is Samantha, at the beginning it's a conscious, nice, accommodating, and almost perfect immaterial entity. She does not judge, but afterwards she starts to develop its consciousness and to become more free. And Theo falls in love with her, what causes a lot of suffering, because in the end she's not human, and she develops in different ways, and it's very difficult for them to have a relationship. And there's a powerful saying in the film, which is, "It is her in herself." This is a statement by Theodore. Which is very surprising and very astonishing. So yes, and also we have the second dilemma pointed by our participant, which is a self-conscious AI. So do they have to have the same rights than a human being, or do they have to be at the services of humans in general? Do we have to enslave self-conscious AI, or do we have to eliminate them if they are useless or fail? So, okay, so these are all topics that are very in the nowadays life and debates. So next slide, please. I'm going to conclude very fast. So from this film, it can be concluded that it exists the imperative need to supervise AI systems. But fortunately, there's a best example of ethics in AI is Europe, as you know, because Recently, representatives of the parliament have reached an agreement on the Artificial Intelligence Act on the 6th December. And it's a regulation that ensures that AI systems that are placed on the European market and used in the EU are safe and respect the fundamental rights and the EU values. So this way, Europe is the first region in the world to undertake a regulation of AI, having at its very core the fundamental rights and safety and trustworthiness as key principles. And here I leave you in the slides all the ethical milestones to achieve the AI Act. And you will see that it's very interesting to notice how human rights approach is present since the beginning. And it is very clear in all the text that AI has to be human-centric, serve to humanity, and serve the common good. So in the next slide, also for you to take a look, because I'm running out of time, but you have this interesting outline that summarizes the ethical guidelines for trustworthy AI. And you have the 4 ethical principles: respect for human autonomy, prevention of harm, fairness, and explicability. And from that, it appears the famous 7 requirements that AI has to have to be trustworthy, and the technical and non-technical means to achieve so. And in this technical and non-technical methods, in the next slide, here you have the requirements more developed in more depth, and perhaps this will be explained later on. There are 3 very interesting non-technical methods that are the education and awareness to foster an ethical mindset, the stakeholder participation and social dialogue, and the need to include diverse and inclusive design teams. So I recommend you to take a look to this, because it is very important to understand also values and ethics in AI projects, and also the involvement that we have to have with stakeholders, with social, establishing social dialogues, etc., and so on. And to finalize, as homework to do, you have in this webpage an ethical roadmap, which is a very, very nice, very interactive exercise for you that will help you to identify or navigate ethical issues or concerns with cars, with games, with role playings. And there are many resources for group discussions and to see things from different angles. And perhaps this will help you also with your applications for ethical committees, and also for successful involvement of persons in your studies. So from my part, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Raquel, for this presentation, and thank you for the films. I have now one new film to watch this weekend. So now we will move into EPR and copyright in open innovation, and I will leave the floor to Sofia. Thank you.
Thank you, Bea, and welcome everyone. We are getting to a little bit more boring section. I'm sorry for that in advance, but I hope you will enjoy. So my name is Zsófia Bulla, and we talk about IPR and copyright in open innovation. As regards IPR, this abbreviation stands for both intellectual property rights and industrial property rights. And I will cover both terms in my presentation, but I will rather use IPR for the bigger category, which is intellectual property rights. So IPR in open innovation refers to the legal framework governing ownership and use of intellectual property and collaborative projects where we involve external partners. So first, we should talk about the assets. So what to protect when we talk about intellectual property protection. So there are tangible assets and intangible assets. Tangibles are the physical objects that have a monetary value, and these are owned by a company. This can be lands, buildings, machinery, equipment, vehicles, inventory. This is also important to mention intangible assets, because these are non-physical assets, but these have a long-term value for a company. And the examples can be the trademarks, patents, copyrights, branding, intellectual property, goodwill, and knowledge assets. Knowledge assets is very important. We will deal with these later on. We can also divide knowledge assets into two categories, the explicit knowledge and the tacit knowledge. But what is a knowledge asset? This is an intangible asset of an organization that arises from its knowledge, experience, and expertise. So these are really crucial sources of competitive advantage in innovation. The explicit knowledge is codified and documented, which makes it easy to share them and transfer them. And these can be found in manuals, reports, procedures, databases, presentations, and so on. The tacit knowledge is embedded in the mind of individuals. So this is very difficult to codify or document or articulate them. These encompass personal experiences, skills, intuition, know-how, and this cannot be really expressed in words. Tacit knowledge is often acquired through years of experience, and is highly valuable for problem solving, decision making, and innovation. Next slide, please. If we talk about knowledge assets and the protection of knowledge assets, there are different strategies we can mention. The legal protection, the organizational practices, and the technological safeguards. If we consider legal protection, there are patents, trademarks, copyrights, and non-disclosure agreements, for instance. These are maybe the main strategies to legally protect knowledge assets. And non-disclosure agreements are those confidentiality obligations that we write down and sign before going into a collaboration with someone. So any obligations on individuals or parties who receive access to confidential information should have something like this. The others, the patents and trademarks, I will talk about them later, just in the next slide. So there are organizational practices as well. The access control, training and awareness, and secure disposal, this can be mentioned under this category. So access control means to restrict access to sensitive information and knowledge assets to authorized personnel. And also physical access controls can be used, or logical access controls, or data encryption. Training and awareness is also very important, because if you educate employees about the importance of protecting knowledge assets, the risk is lowered to disclose any assets to unauthorized people. And secure disposal of physical documents and digital data containing sensitive information is also essential to prevent unauthorized access. About the technological safeguards, I would just rather list them. Firewalls, all we know about these, intrusion detection systems, data loss prevention solutions, and data encryption. These can also be used, maybe for bigger organizations. These are a must, but for smaller ones, it's not so widely used, but it's good to know about these as well. Next slide, please. So we get to the legal protection of intellectual property, because this is the main scope of my presentation. And here we can talk about the industrial property and the copyright. because intellectual property mainly divided into these two categories. Industrial property rights, we have to mention four main types of industrial property rights. The patents. Patents are granted for inventions, which are new and innovative products, processes, or methods. They provide the patent holder with exclusive rights to prevent others from making, using, or selling the patented invention for a specified period. They are particularly useful for protecting technological innovations. Examples for patents or of patented inventions include the ballpoint pen, transistor, smartphone, the light bulb, and we could list it for a long time. Trademarks, maybe these are not so widely known because these are also used and have a lot of significance. These are much cheaper to have than patents, and also good for protecting mainly a brand. So this can be a word, a phrase, or symbol which represent a company or a product. Trademarks distinguish the products or services of one company from another, and they can be essential for safeguarding the brand identity. So examples like acronyms like MBC, IBM, slogans, even stylized fonts and even colors can be listed. Brand names like Apple, McDonald's, product names like iPod and Big Mac, and also company logos like the golden arches at McDonald's, slogans like also McDonald's, I'm loving it. So these are all, these can all be protected and are protected by trademarks. The next category is the industrial designs. You can see the bottle of Coca-Cola in the slide. So industrial designs protect the aesthetic aspects of products, such as the shape, the configuration, or ornamentation. And they prevent others from copying or imitating the design of a product. So the iPhone design, the Nike swoosh, and the Coca-Cola bottle can also be mentioned here. And the last category for the industrial property rights are the geographical indications. These are signs that identify a product as originating from a specific geographical location and possessing certain qualities or characteristics attributable or to that origin. So these protect the reputation of products associated with particular regions. For example, champagne, which is a wine produced in a specific territory called Champagne in France, and also the Parmigiano-Reggiano cheese, so on. So these are the main categories, and copyright, which is something different. This is a legal right that protects original works of authorship, including literary works, artistic works, musical works, and software. Copyright grants the holder the exclusive right to reproduce, distribute, perform, display, and create derivative works based on the protected work. Examples can be for literary works, for instance, novels, poems, plays, essays, articles. For artistic works, paintings, sculptures, photographs, films, videos, drawings, musical works like songs, compositions, musical recordings. And for software, the computer programs themselves and software applications and websites. So copyrights, the work itself, if protected by copyright, must be original So it must be independently created and not substantially copied from another work. It must be fixed in a tangible medium or expression such as paper, film, or a digital form. And the author of the work is the copyright holder. In some cases, the copyright may be owned by an employer or a publisher as well. The duration of copyright is also need to be mentioned, because in most countries, copyright protection lasts for the life of the author, plus an additional 50 or 70 years. After the copyright term expires, the work enters the public domain and can be used freely and reproduced by anyone. There are also exceptions to copyright protection, such as fair use, which allows limited use of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, and scholarship. Yes, and this protection is automatic, so upon the creation of the work. But it may be advisable to register the copyright with the appropriate government agencies to provide additional protection and facilitate enforcement. Yes, I think these are the main points in this slide, so we can go to the next slide. Which is yeah. So what are the benefits of intellectual property rights? Yeah, the title is correct. Sorry for that. The industrial property rights provide several benefits to inventors, designers, and brand owners. These include exclusivity, economic incentives, and consumer protection. So the holders of the IPR have the exclusive right to prevent others from using or exploiting their protected intellectual property. And through this, they can exclusively control the commercialization of their creations, which is very important. Also, the protection of IPR encourages innovation and investment in research and development. IPR also helps the consumers by ensuring that they are purchasing genuine products and not counterfeits. So the consumers are also protected by this. The copyright, the benefits of the copyright is that they protect the holder from others using or exploiting their work without permission, which is logical. And also the holders can generate income from their works through royalties, licensing fees, or other forms of exploitation. And also the copyright encourages creativity by providing creators with the assurance that their work will be protected. Okay, next slide, please. We have only 5 minutes, so yes. So the choice of IPR and copyright protection depends on the specific nature of the research and innovation. These factors that we have to consider can be the type of innovation, which means that, for instance, patents are suitable for technological inventions, trademarks for brand protection, and copyrights for creative works. So we have to distinguish between these types of protections on the basis of the innovation itself. Novelty and originality is also important because the invention, brand, or work must be unique and original to qualify for protection. So this is a basic condition. As regards the commercial potential, the innovation should have commercial potential to justify the cost of protection, because this can be very high. I mean, the cost of the protection. The duration of protection needs to be considered as well. because patents and trademarks have limited duration, while copyrights may last for the life of the creator, plus this additional years that we already discussed. And of course, the cost of protection again, because this is a major issue, because the cost of obtaining and maintaining IPR protection can vary depending on the type of protection and the complexity of the innovation or work. So, okay, next slide, please. So research collaboration can significantly contribute to the generation and enhancement of intellectual property in various ways, by expanding a knowledge bases, fostering cross-pollination of ideas, sharing resources, accelerating innovation, opening up commercialization opportunities. By collaborating effectively, researchers can generate more impactful IP and can contribute, which contributes to societal progress and reap the rewards of their discoveries. So this is really an enhancing force, but it's important to see the risk also and the challenges. Next slide, please. The next slide is just about that. So what are the key challenges of IPR in open innovation? So we get to open innovation finally, which is the sharing of information, basically. So you will be sharing some know-how with your partners and vice versa if you go into open innovation. So striking a balance between openness and protection is a fundamental challenge in open innovation. While openness is essential for fostering collaboration and knowledge sharing, it also exposes intellectual assets to potential misuse. So organizations really need to carefully consider the level of openness appropriate for each open innovation project and implement measures to protect their intellectual property. The default rule is that all information you share may be used freely unless protected under intellectual property rights or as a trade secret or as confidential information. So contractual protection is needed in the form of a non-disclosure agreement, for instance. Before starting collaboration, you need to identify your background, which is all the know-how you already have, or the information, knowledge, and also inventions you already have. And you also have to define the foreground and that who and how should use it. The foreground is the know-how invention to achieve via the collaboration. So you have to define in advance who can further develop them, who can commercialize them, under what authorization and under what conditions. For instance, partners have to pay for you if they use the invention, or other forms can be also found. So it's the most important thing to discuss and write down in a contract, the use and ownership with the partners. Yes, next slide, please. I also have two examples. Very quickly, just in a minute, we go through them, and you can also check them out after this session at home or wherever. So first is a crowdsourcing platform called the Bazuku Crowd, and this is a way of open innovation to do something like that. It employs a comprehensive intellectual property and copyright protection strategy to safeguard the contributions of its users and also to ensure the integrity of its platform. So there are some key elements they use. They have user agreements and terms of service which clearly outline the platform's IP and copyright policies. So these agreements specify that users retain ownership of their individual contributions, but also grant Vasoku-proud and non-exclusive worldwide license to use, reproduce, and distribute their contributions within the platform and for marketing purposes. So these need to be accepted if you just want to collaborate with them. Also, they distinguish between different types of contributions, such as ideas, solutions, and creative works. And this classification helps determine ownership rights and usage restrictions. For instance, ideas generally remains with the contributor, while solutions or creative works may be subject to specific licensing agreements. So also education and awareness is also important for them. Also to educate those who collaborate with them about the copyright principles and IP, and to secure platform infrastructure. And they also conduct periodic audits and reviews of their IP and copyright policies and practices. So by implementing these comprehensive measures, they effectively protect the IP and copyrights of these users, and they also can maintain a vibrant and innovative crowdsourcing environment. So this approach serves as a model for other platforms who seek the balance, openness and protection in the digital realm. And the last slide, just very quickly, the OpenStreetMap, you might also have heard about them. This is a collaborative mapping project which relies on a combination of copyright licenses and community norms to protect its contributors' work. And they also ensure openness and accessibility in the same time. So they mention the most important things. So they, for instance, maintain a robust data lineage system that tracks the origin and the modification of each piece of data. And this traceability ensures that contributions can be attributed to their original creators and that any modifications are documented. And they also have a moderation, which is community-based, and these moderators review and approve all the new contributions. And they also assess the quality and adherence of these OpenStreetMaps guidelines, ensuring that the data is accurate, consistent, and legally compliant. Yes, and they have a legal team that provides guidance and representation in cases of copyright infringement or misuse of data. And they also work to educate the community about copyright law and promote responsible data usage. So you can also, I guess you received this slide, so you can just go through it and also find these platforms if you would like to create something that is also safe and protected, but open and based on collaboration in the same time. So thank you for listening. This is the end of my presentation.
Yes, thank you, Sofia, for this huge overview on IPR and copyright in open innovation. Let's move on to our next trainer today, that is Taina from Laurea. I guess she's there.
I'm here.
Yes.
Yes,
The floor is
indeed.
yours.
Okay, can I start, Bea?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, okay, and thanks a lot to previous speakers on covering very interesting topics. And same here, I also got hints to two interesting films by Raquel, so thanks a lot to that. Talking about responsible research and innovation, the topic, of course, has been a reason for very interesting plots in several films and books, for instance, Bad Blood, which I think is at present in court in the USA, but I don't have an extract on that because my focus is mainly on FAIR data. Okay, but let's move along, and my section is structured slightly differently, because what I did actually is I created a self-study material package for students and also a quiz. And the aim of this self-study material is that the students obtain awareness of responsible research and innovation and open and fair data principles, and learn skills related to data management planning, and data source identification, data protection, and data anonymization. Okay, next slide. Yeah, thanks. So very briefly, the contents of the self-study material. It will cover responsible research and innovation, open and fair data principles, data management planning, data protection, and data anonymization. And the idea is that that the participants become acquainted, sorry, still the previous, thanks, become acquainted with the material provided in the slide set, and then take the quiz. So the quiz is on the theoretical aspects of responsible research and innovation and open and fair data principles, and the link is there. So please take note of the link and go to the quiz after you have familiarized yourself with the material provided later on. Okay, we can move on. So just briefly on responsible research and innovation. So RRI as a concept is used in the EU's framework program, certainly, for all those who are familiar with the framework program and the funding possibilities that it provides. So it describes research and technological development from the viewpoint of its impact on society and the environment. And regarding fair data principles, they stand for the fact that data should be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And Sophia previously touched on open innovation, and this is certainly the trend in responsible research and innovation, so that the material is fair, it is open. Okay, and so just briefly on RRI. So it's a framework that integrates ethical considerations, societal engagement, and governance in the research and innovation process in order to enhance the societal impact of research. So through addressing ethical, social, and environmental dimensions of research. And this involves, first of all, anticipation and reflexivity. So a proactive consideration of potential societal impacts of research and innovation and their ethical implications. And just throughout the research and innovation process, a continuous reflection on the ethical and social aspects of research. And a second important element is inclusiveness. So throughout the process, engaging with diverse stakeholders, and Raquel was really taking this up at the beginning, how important this is to engage in a diverse fashion with different stakeholders involved in the research. So including the public, certainly the foci of the research, so in the research process, and also including multiple perspectives of those stakeholders to enrich decision making in research and after. And also Sophia was talking about open innovation. So what we want here is open access and transparency of data, and open communication of research methodologies, the findings of the research, and also the risks, potential risks involved in research. And the ethical consideration, the idea is to integrate ethical principles in research design, its conduct, and its dissemination processes. So when you're communicating about the results of the research, and just generally adhering to ethical standards and guidelines. Okay, next slide, please. And before you take the quiz, the idea is I've put together a set of video recordings on these topics that have been created collaboratively by universities in Finland. So we won't watch this now, but we'll move on. And the participants will gain access to the material through this slide set. So moving on to talking about data management planning. So in DPM, it's important to gain know-how on how to create a plan on data management, how to protect your data, and then how to anonymize it. And I've provided a link here by the, I've called it the Academy of Finland, but I think their official name in English is the Research Council of Finland. And they're a government agency and part of the Ministry of Education. And they're kind of very general guidelines on DMP. So I urge the participants to take a look at that link. And we'll move along. So some very basic issues of research data management. So best practices for ensuring data integrity and accessibility involves planning on how to organize it, how to store it, how to preserve, and how to share your research data throughout the research life cycle. So RDM, research data management, ensures data integrity and enhances the reproducibility of research and just generally facilitates collaboration. So we should be considering the life cycle of our research data. So collecting it, generating it, how we're doing it, how we're storing it, how we're backing it up, how are we sharing it, how are we publishing about it, and how are we preserving it and archiving it at the end. So the key principles are documentation, security, and privacy. So what can we maintain open, what can we maintain private, or what should we maintain private, and then version control. Okay. And research data management, again, so a data management plan. So develop a data management plan at the beginning of a research project where you address its organization, storage, sharing, and long-term preservation. You need to address data ownership. So clearly define who owns the data, to whom does the authorship belong, and provide proper attribution for sharing data sets. And training and resources for researchers at your university. So I advise all the participants to go to your home university when you're embarking on research and check on the training available for R&D and M best practices. But certainly, I mean, the material here provides an insight into this through the videos, but I also urge you to take a look at the best practices at your university where you are engaged in research. So as a summary, so RDMM, research data management, emphasizes the role of researchers in maintaining data integrity and generally contributing to a culture of responsible data management. And again, I urge you to take a look at this introductory topic on your own before you take the quiz. And let's look at storing research data, some basics. So storing research data involves selecting appropriate storage solutions to ensure your data security, its integrity, and its accessibility. So regarding data type and size, choose storage solutions that are appropriate for your type and size of data. And regarding security requirements, so assess the sensitivity of your data and implement security measures according to its nature, and consider encryption, access control, and authentication. Regarding collaboration needs, so consider storage solutions that facilitate collaborative research, again in line with open data principles. And also are aware of the fact that cloud-based platforms may enhance accessibility. Regarding scalability, so select storage solutions that can scale with the growing volume of data, and version control, so employ version control systems for tracking changes in the data. And again, I urge you to take a look at the provided video material before taking the quiz. Same with sensitive research data, so consider the privacy of your data. If there are sensitive parts to your data, an additional video material on that. Moving on, same with how to handle personal research data. And that's all for me. And don't forget the link to the quiz. And please provide me, there's some additional literature here if you move on to the next slide, Bea. It's also my contact information, so get back to me, please, if you have issues with the quiz. That's all for me, and thanks for letting me discuss this material today.
Okay, thank you, Taina. I don't have this last slide. Anyway, they know the trainers, that's fine. Or you can
I'll
pay.
send it.
No worries, you can put the email in the chat.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So yes, thank you very much for the presentation. We are moving into the last submodule that is about research design for own user-centric project. And Timu, the floor is yours now.
Okay, thank you. Can you change the next slide?
Yes, sure.
Okay, like Bea was saying, this is the very last presentation what we have in this altogether 8 different webinars, and basically we are hoping and we are trusting that all the information that what we have been giving you on these previous webinars will kind of empower you to make your own choices for your forthcoming research projects or development projects or whatever you are doing. And like we, as a part of the information material for this webinar series, we were saying that for those who were selecting all the webinars, we promised to give you feedback on your own research project plan. So that's why today I will be going through the kind of a template that what we've been preparing for you in a way, and later on we will be sending you the more details about that, how the process of giving a feedback to you will be working. And for those who were taking part of the webinar 6, I was talking about what is the difference between research plan, protocol, or research design. And in a way, definitely, we are not asking you to deliver a research plan, which is typically something that you send, for example, when you are applying to do a PhD, like 10 pages long document, giving all the details and theories that are included on that one. But then I also was kind of referring in my presentation at the webinar 6 that the line between research protocol and research design, it's not fully clear, and that's why it's kind of something in between what we are probably doing in here. So can you change the next slide? And this slide was also presented on the webinar 6, which is, from my point of view, a very good template for describing the interventions of your studies. And that's why we've been also selecting this as a template for you to describe your research plans or your research designs. But we didn't include everything from here because number 11 and number 12, for example, are the kind of in the for reporting how everything went after you've been, you know, the reporting your studies. This is basically something that they've been developing for the doing your publications, because in many cases when people are writing scientific publications, they are not really kind of clearly describing what kind of interventions they've done with the study participants. But that's why this really kind of, in my opinion, collects the kind of all the main key items that should be included in there when you are doing your planning. Some criticism for this template is, in a way, in some cases, it's also kind of when you are actually writing your things, like, for example, what procedures or what kind of materials you are doing, when you are writing that in a let's say a reporting format for your publications, you have to do some kind of repetitions because in many cases what you do, what you need as a materials or the procedures, they are so interlinked, and that's why it might be difficult just to separate them like a truly isolated everything, and they are not really interconnected. But I don't think that's a problem. It's just a kind of a very good checklist for you to understand what kind of the topics you should be covering when you are doing your planning. Can you go to the next slide? And also, in a way that this was presenting in the webinar 2, is kind of how we link the Living Lab activities against the kind of the maturity of the solutions that you are developing or researching, in a way. And that's why we definitely have different kinds of tasks when we are doing, for example, the need assessment or ideation. And that's why I will be soon showing you the templates, what we are doing. We kind of created the template in a way that we are asking exactly the same things for each of the TRLs. And of course, depending on what TRL level you are, and if you are not covering them, of course, you are then not kind of going to be reporting them. But that's why you can be seeing that, for example, in some cases like the study participants are probably changing on the course of the depending on which phases you are in this development, what you are doing, or for example what kind of methods or practices you are doing. So there are definitely different kinds of things. We can jump on the next one. So this was also presenting previously, and I kind of, when I was doing this template, I was thinking about that. Okay, what are the? It's a little bit should be the first 1, 2, and 3 should be kind of covered by this green box. It's a bit off in the slides, but I was thinking about that. Okay, what are from practical, when you are doing practically planning your study, what are the most critical things in here? I'm not, because I didn't include, for example, the literature review. I'm not saying that the literature review is not important, but I'm just saying that you can do a Living Lab research without any literature review. Of course, kind of in the related theories of your research problem or questions, that in most cases kind of is linked to some kind of theories and existing scientific knowledge. So throughout that is of course important, but you can definitely do a Living Lab study without any literature review. And then of course the kind of the theoretical framework. If you are using that, it's an optional in a way, but you don't have to have the most solid framework what you are doing, because in many cases we are still doing, especially if we are doing very hands-on on testing. Of course, there are these theories linked to there, but in many cases we also have templates and kind of the practical tools which are guiding you to ask the right questions right away without kind of digging deep into the theoretical frameworks which are behind of those templates. And the research design and the methodological choices that you are doing, that's of course the most important things that when you are planning that what you are going to do. And number 7, the ethical consideration is really crucial in that sense, because that's the one thing that you could be ending up in a really big trouble if you are not following those guidelines that are doing. And this is really also kind of depending on the research domain that where you are working. And for example, in health and well-being, those are really highlighted, while in some other domains where we are not working directly with the people, it's kind of not as much highlighted in a way. And also when you are doing planning your studies, also very good idea thinking about that, okay, what kind of results I'm expecting from my study. And then I included also the timeline, that having some kind of an understanding at how much time and when you are planning to do your studies. Okay, now I will be jumping on those templates and we switch the screen sharing. Okay. You can see now my screen, right? Okay, here's the same kind of a reference that I was showing on the previous one. So this is the first page of the template, and in the left hand side I have this kind of the things that what we are asking you to deliver. First one is always, of course, having a very informative study title. So basically, if you can in a title already say the key aspects what you are doing with your study, it would be very good in a way. And also this kind of this study rationale, background and significance is kind of the short abstract of why you are doing, why this is an important. And if you already know the kind of the most significant theoretical or methodological premises of your projects, it would be good to kind of describe them in here. And in here, it's more like a short abstract or a little bit extended abstract, not like a multiple pages, but give you a brief understanding about what is this study all about, because that gives you an overview. Because sometimes when you are just reading the individual bits and pieces of the plan, it might be a kind of difficult to get an overall understanding about that. And then the most important thing is that what is your study objectives and what is your primary objective, what you are trying to do with your study. And if you have kind of a detailed research questions or even hypotheses, you should put them in here. And in many cases, we can have also kind of secondary objectives, which are either supporting or kind of nice to know knowledge for your study. And in here, that if you are able to, the final answer for your objectives on the research questions, what is the kind of an impact or outcome of the study that you are going to be doing? What is your expectation in that sense? Because once you have goals and expectation, that's also kind of drives you towards them. Then is also the importance to whom. Who are your study participants? What is the inclusion criteria? So basically, who are the primary users who should be involved with your study? and there might be some kind of different user groups which are important in here. And also, when you're thinking about that, if you have a big study, also I think it would be very relevant for you to figure it out that, you know, who are the most important in the beginning, who are the user groups going to be exactly the same all the time in a way. And then you also have these secondary and tertiary users, which kind of are also important for your study, especially in the Living Lab studies, where we always highlight this kind of quadruple helix viewpoint. And like in healthcare studies, like politicians and decision makers are very important to kind of convince of your study results, because after all, they are the persons who make all the decisions that what kind of solutions they are going to be implemented in these, for example, in the public healthcare systems. And then we have the exclusion criteria for the primary and secondary users, and kind of what kind of an expected sample size you are having for your study. And in here is kind of also that what are the different changes when you are in doing, okay, are they all the same, or what kind of remarks you want to make for the different TRL levels. And then the next one is the first need assessment, but the questions for each of the TRL levels are exactly the same. So what kind of procedures and methods, activities, templates, you know, you are planning to use for your interventions and user engagements, including something that you need for as enabling or the supporting activities. And the second one is also the kind of what kind of materials, technologies or devices are you planning to use. And then they can be like physical or informational materials or devices like, you know, wearables or the eye tracking cameras or something like that. And also in here is kind of they're not only as a part of this kind of an intervention, but also the training relating to your interventions, because in many cases you must either be training the participants for doing something or giving them guidelines, or in a way that you might be having your research groups person or the, let's say, support staff who are helping you to execute your study. You might need to train them as well in order to be able to execute your study. And then the location, where are you doing your research? It's going to be totally different if you're doing that in your laboratory in your university, or you are doing that in the let's say a shopping mall nearby, and that will have also implications for the kind of getting your research permits and getting the access there and so forth. And the how describes the models of delivery, how you're doing. Are you using, for example, online telco, or do you do face-to-face interaction with them? And then how much and when you are doing this one? Is this kind of an one-time activity, or are you going to be repeating this multiple times over a certain time period? Like, okay, there will be let's say a 8 weeks training period when we have like a pre and post test between these time periods. And also who is the provider? Let's say, you know, the researchers doing that, but besides that, we will be needing assistance for this and that, and they will be doing this kind of works. And then also this kind of what kind of an ethical consideration and issues you might be encountering when you are doing your study. And basically each of those are exactly the same. And now I will be showing on one example. Do you see now the example, or is that the template still? Do you see the additional text? Because I'm not seeing that what I'm sharing. Bea, can you see, is there a text in the?
No.
No, okay, then I share it. I probably just share the screen. Let's share the screen. Okay, now you see the one with the text, right? Okay. So I will go through one example so you can see that what kind of index there will be, and we will be providing you with all of this information. So our study title is the multidimensional physical fitness testing service for aging persons. And in here, as a part of this study rationale, we are kind of claiming that the physical fitness is very relevant for the people's well-being in a way, and showing that that there is not enough evidence or studies to done relating this when you are kind of thinking about this kind of a multidimensional physical fitness, understanding about physical fitness from the multidimensional measurement point of view. And also this is very interesting from the business point of view, because the world population is aging very rapidly, especially in the Nordic countries. We are among the most elderly peoples, and the situation coming worse and worse all the times, because we are not having enough babies in Finland. So, but also this kind of a senior fitness market is also very rapidly growing as a fitness industry, and not only as a fitness industry, but in general as a well-being in a way. So we can see also this kind of not only like a health benefits in here for understanding that if we want to give counsel to the elderly people about what kind of physical fitness levels they have, but there's also kind of a possibility to make some business out of this. So that's why for us, the primary objective was the kind of evaluating the user experience for this multidimensional physical fitness testing service. So how the seniors feel about this service. But also in a way, the other primary objective for us is from the business point of view was that how much they are willing to pay for this service. And as a secondary objectives for us, we want to be collecting user feedback for the future development purposes, and also in a way verify the scalability issues, what might be relating to how well we can kind of execute this if we have a lot of people coming in this service. And what kind of results we are expecting is about identifying the price sensitive range and the optimal price for the service, and also the verify or reject the user acceptance for this testing service, and identify the improvement needs as well as the scalability issues. So this is the kind of setting that what we were planning to do. And in here, so who we need in here? So our primary users were older adults over 67 years, varying with the physical fitness levels, and in a way, and also the kind of, for those who are willing and interested to collaborate voluntarily in this study and do all of these kind of study specific activities, which is basically the go through this measurement track for us. And they have to be, because we are talking about elderly people, so they have to be understanding that what they're committing as well. They have to feel physically and cognitively able to take part of the studies, and for that we were using the self-assessment to evaluate that, and then have to be signed the consent for the participation as well as the data processing. And if there were any kind of a physical, if there was a rejection in the self-assessment in the physical and cognitive questionnaire, then we would be excluding them. And also if they are not willing to sign the consent, they are not taking part of the study. And for the secondary and tertiary users, We were targeting the senior housing center administrations and city administration, while the responsibility for the sports or aging person services. And we were expecting, because we've been done this also previously, we were expecting about 200 to 400 persons to take a part of these measurement tracks. And we kept very limited amount for the secondary and tertiary users in here. And what we did is kind of they use promote free, kind of an open course to promote free of charge physical fitness measurements for them, which was published in local newspapers and social media channels, and also throughout this kind of local city administration who had their own channels to promote these. So, and in here, only TRL7 phase will be implemented in this example. So I'm showing that what happens in the TRL, and TRL7, somebody might be asking in here, okay, you have 200 to 400, isn't that already TRL8 because it's quite a lot of people? Yes, it could be that, or it could be 7, but in here I just put it on the 7 because the TRL8 would be, let's say, if we would be doing that in multiple locations at the same time, for example, the scale, really scaling up. Now we've done this only in the one location. In here, what kind of procedures and methods we were using? So we had about 40 participants who were getting this kind of an armband sensor devices, who were wearing that for the 24 hours before the measurement days, and as well they were keeping the diary, what they were doing in that particular day, because we wanted to link the activities to this sensor data what we were having. And the measurement day, they will first sign the consent and fill the quality of life questionnaire, which is based on this World Health Organization quality of life scale. And after that, the participants went through the kind of measurements points where we had all together like 12 different places where they're doing different kinds of physical activities, and they get the kind of, and they get measured for how well they were performing over there. And after that, they were finishing the measurements that they were filling paper-based user experience questionnaire, which was kind of an extended with the price sensitivity meter questions and some open text boxes to, to propose improvement suggestions or give complaints about the testing procedures. And then what kind of materials, technologies, and devices were needed for that one? So we had that sensor devices, and that was kind of rotated between the participants who also received the diary template and the personal guidelines and assistance how to fill it. And for all the participants, we had the consent form, the quality of life questionnaire, and then they have this kind of a score sheets which was kind of marked when they were doing the tracking. And that was one for them and one for us researchers, which they were returning. And in the different measurements points, we had different practical items that were needed, like tape measures, chairs, and stuff like that for that one. And then we also provided these general reference values, because when they get their scores, they have to be, the referring their results to something where they're good or bad. So that was something what we were providing for them. And because this was the kind of an open event, we also have this kind of the security plan, which was deployed and also gone through all the participating event staff members. And this is something that can be very easily forget when you are doing that. Do you have to be concerning, okay, it's a public event, and that's why you have to be concerning also these kind of issues at the same time. Where we did it was like a big sport hall which was rented, and for the participants who were having this 24-hour sensor measurement, of course, they were doing their normal daily activities. They were in home and various indoors and outdoors environments. And for the participants who were receiving these sensors, they were invited to specific locations, university campus, where they receive and return the diary and the device when the testing was over. And in the actual event, there was an open access time period when the people could come in walk-in principle and take part of the measurements. And then the participants circulated individually throughout the different points where they get practical instructions from the physiotherapy students, and then finishing the track, they will go to meeting point and they feel that this kind of an they have this self-read things that they could be comparing their results against the reference values, and also they fill the user experience, the extended user experience questionnaire. And then when and how much this was happening in the spring 2022, in this venue, in 1 or 2 days. It was actually 2 days how we did it, and every participant took the measurement track once, which took about 20 to 25 minutes. And the guys, the persons who were using the sensor devices, they were it for the 1 day. And who provides in here, we are just describing that, okay, research protocol and the related questionnaires, we needed the user experience researcher and physiotherapy experts. And the physiotherapy experts was responsible for delivering the sensors to the participants and giving the guidelines. He was also responsible for training all the students for doing the thing, making them ready for the measurement day. And there was also some additional teachers to support and give support for the students to do that. And some ethical considerations was basically the consent forms were tailored for the general data protection regulation standards and the ethical requirements which applied in Finland, but we had basically the anonymized data, and the mapping with the questionnaires and measurements were done with the running ID number, so we didn't have like personal data in that sense. So now if you see that, it's probably hopefully you will get a kind of an understanding, and this level of information will give you hopefully quite good understanding that what we're actually doing. But it's also reveals in a way that if I would be giving this to you and you would be, let's say, the expert in this field, there are still quite a lot of open issues from practical issues that what you really need to do in order to be able to successfully execute this kind of an activities. But anyway, it's quite fast when you're starting to write this, you will get quite a lot of information, and still there is not, I would say that there are still some missing parts in here, some details that are missing. And then the can you now see the Excel? Pea, can you see the Excel now?
Yes, I can see everything.
Okay, yeah. So I also made this kind of an additional example in here, which is in Excel format, which is exactly the same questions, but in here, which might give you a better understanding about the whole thing. But because the text boxes are quite small, I kind of, did also from exactly the same example, I did this kind of let's say more simple version, like this bullet point type of information for this main information about this, what materials, what procedures were, and so forth. In here, for example, you can much faster see in here that what kind of activities we are doing, what is needed. But in here, for example, in point 4, in this what materials, technologies and devices, point 4 in here is tools for the measurements, point C, lists and star in here. So you could be doing like that. You will be showing the reference information somewhere else. But in here, this would give, if you have the multiple phases in here, would give you a pretty good overview that what kind of an activities and what kind of things you must be doing in here. So this was pretty much thing that I was planning to show in here, but we can, because we still have some time in here, that we can have some discussion about that. How do you feel about the doing research planning throughout this kind of, and you will get the template later on, but we can have discussion about that. Do you see the example, for example, that one? Did you get a good understanding about that? What was done in that particular research, or just open, or there any questions that you have for the forthcoming task? Or we can also do in a way that we can open this one template and start filling for one of you the things if you want. That's also possible. Or discuss throughout that. Anybody having a study? Everybody is ready also. So ready for because of this big webinar series, eight slots in a way. But okay, if there are no any questions in that one, so basically what we will be doing that we will be sending you information about if you want to be submitting your own research proposal throughout this template. So we are willing to, for those who take the whole course, as we promised, we are willing to give you on feedback on that. So we will be sending additional information about that, at what time point you should be sending it and where you should be sending it. So, but we are really looking forward to see your research plans or research designs, however you want to be call them. Do you want to say something till the very end?
Yes. So before we close the series of webinar, just a wrap up on the insights that we have been gathering today. The basic concepts of the ethics that we all reflect through the key inspiring films that Raquel shared with us. Thank you, Sofia, for the IPR and copywriting key elements to be taken into account, and the 2 case studies to be studied afterwards. Through Taina, we learned about the research responsibility innovation, and we have now a really good kit to be studied afterwards again with some homeworks and insightful videos. We deep dive into the data management plan, data requirements, and also accessibility issues that we need to take into account while defining our project. And we end this webinar 8 or module 8, understanding the difference between research plan, protocol, and design. And with this exercise that we all hopefully to have your projects back. So before we close officially the webinar series, thank you very much for attending this webinar today. I hope this is useful for you and for your future. And I will leave the floor to Timu to officially close this master course. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we've been very happy about seeing everybody taking part of this course, and I think we, at least based on the feedback we have so far, and by the way, do we have the feedback link, the satisfaction survey? That's very important for us. But yeah, that's over there. So far, at least we've been receiving very good feedback on the contents for this webinars, and I'm very pleased to see that the quality and the content, and also the kind of and the amount of the persons who were taking part, especially in the we have now a little bit less persons than in the very beginning of the course, but really it's been very happy to see that there are so many people who are interested in about learning more about the living labs. And of course we are hoping that after this course you will be really start implementing these living lab practices to your own work, because we want to be really extending the living lab family and the community with the new researchers. And we should be also promoting the open living lab days, which are coming in every it's September. I don't remember what will be the dates for that. So maybe you will be preparing your own living lab research paper based on these, you know, the knowledge and new learnings that you've been covering from these webinars, and submit your own paper to the Open Living Labs Day and share your, you know, the experiences with the Living Lab community in general. And for the materials what we have, I'm not sure that how was the sharing of those, but they will be coming to you later on in a way. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining the webinar series, and I think we can now officially say that the webinar series is now closed.